I think I found an answer for how a community can escape the financial system. You want to know how? Stick around. Another Friday, another episode. Thank you all for watching. I'm very happy that you guys are back. The numbers keep growing, so it excites me that you guys are interested in this. So please stick around. If you're not subscribed yet, then please subscribe. I'm working on lots of different sides of content, interviews, people like that. We still have the UFO mystery of Gorredijk, where we're at right now. We still have to investigate it. There's lots of other stuff coming up. Hope you guys are into the channel. I hope you guys are into the subjects. And with that said, let's dive into the community comments directly. Right, our first comment of this episode, it's from Richard XS5, X5S. And Richard is actually, he's written 2 comments. Let's start with the first one. Lightning and thunder at the moment of your birth sounds to me as you thought you came into Earth's sphere like Zeus, laughing out loud. Something else I laugh about, my birth date is 7 December 1941. Yeah. But my harbor was not pearl, rather my mother's loving voice and touch. Ah, that's very sweet. That means, guys, Richard is 82 years old. So, respect for finding us on YouTube. And I hope you stick around and you enjoy the content. Guys, give Richard some love if you see him in the comment section. Also, he's written, this whole thing, which is, surely something akin to a little letter, but it's an experience. It's an experience of an encounter. And for you guys' convenience, I'm gonna read it. So what we have is, it's gonna block the screen a little bit, but if you want, you can read it back in the comment section of the last episode. Did I hear it correctly? Kelly family fell in love with an alien. I guess I did. I have to go back and review this other video episode that refers to the Kelly family. So actually, if you're interested in that, there's the episode that we did about education, and I mostly talk about how they were raised in an unorthodox way, which I think gave some unexpected results, as you can see in their success. I think this song, "Fell in Love with an Alien," is one of their peaks of their of what they performed as a band, and kindly refer you back to that episode. In the meantime, UFO researchers have mentioned at various times there are humans from other worlds who walk around among Earthlings undetected. I'm not so sure about that term "undetected," but maybe others can confirm just how good my detective skills are. True story. The place is Toronto, Ontario, specifically Eglinton Avenue West between Caledonia Road and Dufferin Street. In the summer of 1998, it was daylight when I arrived for an important meeting close to Caledonia Road. Dark out, except for the overhead lights when the meeting ended. I walked homeward, eastward bound, along Eglinton. When I started to approach Prospect Cemetery, I saw a character that looked very much out of place. A tall man wearing a white suit, probably made of linen, a white dress shirt with a dark necktie, a white fedora or bleached white Panama. I couldn't see his face as he approached, but when he came toward me, I got the strange feeling we knew each other, and off the top of my head I was tempted to stop and say hello. Suddenly, it is as though all my I can't read, guys. Suddenly, it is as though all my gut bacteria started screaming at me. Don't, or you will be in deep trouble. So I listened to my intuition and kept going. Once we had passed each other, I looked back toward him, but he just kept his head forward and continued walking. His gait was dignified, neither slow nor fast, just deliberate, and his arms seemed to flutter back and forth slightly. Nothing like a natural swing. Within hours of arriving home, I analyzed the whole incident physically and emotionally, and yes, I would have been in trouble if I had stopped to say hello to him and interrupt his journey, except to add further that me engaging with him would have been consent to contact with him from his own frame of reference, but which would have constituted trespass in human terms, and that is not how we earthlings determine things alone when it comes to contracts. So, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting experience, Richard. That is my one and only time at first-hand experience with another human who I strongly feel I don't have absolute proof. I don't have absolute proof. Yes, strongly feel is not of our world, because I simply don't have that kind of reaction to other people, ever. I'm glad the information I got from the field around me filtered through my heart instead of my head. And because of this intuition getting me out of other bad scrapes, which could have ended badly, I'm still here, from a spiritual perspective, being the gift I am meant to be. Now I'm going to have a go and find this episode about the Kelly family. Let's see what happens. Well, that's an adventure about to come. I mean, interesting experience, Richard. It's I mean, it sounds very akin to other people who have had contact with certain kind of entities. I wouldn't be able to tell you what kind of entity this would be. Could it be, something that would be of an alien encounter, or perhaps maybe something more of a spiritual encounter? It definitely. You definitely describe this person as something wearing an attribute, like the clothes that he wears. It doesn't resemble something from the late 1990s. It resembles something more like the 50s. Interesting encounter. It could have been something from the past, maybe. I have some curious theories about what UFOs might be and what time might have to do with it. But that's not today's episode, so I'm gonna leave you with that for today. Great comment, Richard. Thanks. Let's see who else we have. All right, Tom van Ham, 1416. He wrote a Dutch comment. Very appreciated, but translated into English. Keep it up, Marco. Maybe next object, I think he means subject. Maybe next subject is European pyramid in Bosnia, which existed for 30,000 years and discovered in 2006. How and about maybe better life if we step back into, e.g., more environmentally friendly country in the Netherlands, more cyclopaths and covered bicycles like a German Twike 5, a car with 2 pedals and tandem bike, gas-free houses with wind turbines and solar panels, houses brick puzzle Lego brick without cement. Maybe interview farmers about the future in tiny, busy the Netherlands. Interesting subject, Tom. It's definitely it's a curious thing of how the Netherlands will urbanize further. We used to have farmland here, and now slowly but surely more and more is getting built. This fertile delta is definitely getting more urbanized. There's plans to do that as well. Maybe at some point we can discuss those. Although I don't want this to be a political show, but there's definitely plans in the making. I mean, the bikes, they're a good idea. I like bikes, although the weather, we have the weather to think about. So yeah, I like the covered bikes. But you know, maybe, and I'm not opposed to having an electro motor or something like that. You know, as long as it is, you know, the whole chain is well done. I mean, lots of I have some issues with electrical vehicles being set as more environmentally friendly, which you know they're not necessarily are. The same could be said with e-bikes. Although, yeah, of course, if you just grab a bike and go from one place to another, you're not spending any fuel or something. That's good for your wallet, and yeah, that's good for the environment as well. Although I'm not sure how much you would save environmentally. And you know, as forwards the temples, the pyramids in Bosnia, well, there you go. That's the one of the pyramids that's in Bosnia. So yeah, I like that subject. Yeah, maybe if you guys want to see that as well, give Tom's comment, give him a loads of comments, give like his comment, or maybe post a new comment down below so I know, you know, okay, there's really a need to explore this subject, because yeah, they're supposedly they're covered in a kind of concrete, and they carbon dated the concrete that was inside, and the date that came out was indeed around 30,000 years ago. Now, I think carbon dating can be a little bit sketchy after maybe 12,000 years ago, because there might have been, you know, a significant event that would have altered the way that carbon gets released from the atmosphere, or maybe even entered. So, you know, but it's good to know that this could be a very ancient structure. And yeah, maybe we'll go into a deep dive at some point. All right, let's see who else we have. Northwind0273. Congrats on moving to your home place and a new studio. Very cool history. Thanks for sharing that. Well, thank you very much, Northwind. Yeah, it's actually it's become my home place now. I was born here. I only lived here for 9 months as a baby, and I knew it from family who lived here, but never really got like an in-depth experience of what it is to live here. And you know, which is, it's cool. It's a type of town that has a lot of history, a lot of canal houses from the 1700s. And you know, when you kind of follow that canal and you walk out of the town, what you find is you find oak trees and you find linde trees, which makes it this area makes it very plausible for historically being related with the Ura Linde book, which gives me a lot of synchronicities of what's going on. But yeah, if you want to know more about the significance with the Ura Linde, I showed in the previous episode. I showed the heraldry of this town, and it's yeah, it definitely relates to something that is akin to forest. All right, what else we have? Oh right, yeah, this one we treated last episode. It's a comment from Trodost, and I was actually kept up to date by someone who said like, hey, listen, there's this thread on the Ura Linde forum, which is the why Ura Linde book can't be a forgery, and this is related to the comment that he gave us. To me, I was very confused about what it all, how all of the different facts interrelated. But this thread kind of gives it yeah, it kind of gives a backstory of how that thinking came to be. So thank you very much for the person sending this in. It relates to the Assyrian and the Babylonian Chronicle 19 from the White Note Chronicle, which is a particular kind of translation. There's the Sumerian king list that gets involved, and the story of Venamun from Egypt. And then there's the Sumerian Kansan Vanhout from Finland. Something. It's it's a good read. I kind of read it through as much as I could. From what I can gather, it's that the thread tries to find confirmation of the Ura Linda book by aligning other stories in other sources that are found and kind of stacking them all up together. And then that stack is somewhat akin to the story of what the Vodin story in the Ura Linda book is about. I mean, it's good research. It's definitely, if you're into the Ura Linda, it's a good read. I'm not sure if it's evidence. I think for this to be evidence, we need something more. We need, I think, something that could be dated. Because to say that an old Frisian story that happened in Scandinavia made it all the way to Sumeria, it could be a thing. There's this whole thing about the Guccian army basically being the Finns. There's the story could make sense, I think. But I think we need something that can corroborate that specific date or something. And it's difficult, I think, if you stack up narrative on narrative on narrative and then compare it to this other narrative. I'm not sure how sound that is. But I'm definitely I'm taking this serious. So I'm well done to the person researching it. And I hope more gets stacked on top of this, so it actually becomes a thicker body of evidence. So all right, with that said, I think it's time that we go into our and as a message from our sponsor, of course, we have Druid Secret, which is the secret of the Druids, where you find anything that you might need for your holistic medicine cabinet. So if you're trying to understand of how to get healthy, of how to maybe work with products that are not from any pharmaceutical company, that are healthy, that are clean, that are proven, I think you should have a go and go to Druid Secret. Druid Secret, the top products that I think that they have is the HHC oil. I'm a big fan of that. There's also good quality CBD oil that's very clean. They have it in different percentages. People use it for menstrual cramps, headaches. If you have arthritis, if you're at age, I don't know, Richard, maybe you're as healthy as you can be, but maybe you have some complaints that you can use the CBD oil for. So with that, I'd say go to Druid Secret or cbdorganica.com. Use the code Paradigm Shift. You have to use the code because otherwise, how will they know who sent you there? So we want you to put in the code. You get the discount. At that point, you're also supporting the show. So we have an interest in you going there, just because that is a way for us to sustain ourselves a little bit. As for now, the hits of on the counter, the view counter, they're not as high yet. But if you go there and you tell them who sent you there, well then at that point, you know, we start getting some traction and things start getting around. So go there. There's an interesting Blue Lotus medicine out there, you know, which is in the Egyptian time. They were supposed to have some mythical psychedelic properties. Maybe go check that out. Who knows? There's some good products based on any kind of mushroom. So not the psychedelic kind, but definitely the medicinal kind. Lion's mane, for instance. There's some other ones. Go check those out. For your holistic medicine cabinet. And with that recommendation, and it's truly a recommendation because I don't want to promote any kind of products that I'm not into. With that recommendation, let's continue and let's go back to the rest of our show. All right, and then continue backward to our main subject. Our main subject of tonight is microscrapping. I have a lot of electronic waste, guys. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I gathered over the years, that I collected, that, you know, since I'm moving from place to place at this moment, I'm really thinking about, okay, I should really get rid of a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, I'm kind of like in the middle, like what do? I sometimes spend a lot of money from this. There's what to do with your old e-waste. I mean, just so you guys have an idea. I mean, I got tablets, I got a whole bunch of things. Like here, some more tablets. I just gathered these at some point. There's this old Beamer, what do we do with that? I got this laptop. I have this old camera. I got a whole bunch of stuff, and this is not even the most of it, because a lot of stuff I already broken down in, just threw away the plastics. I rather the plastic be used a second time, but at this point I don't have any shredder or anything. But yeah, this, it just, to me, it sounds like it looks like too much of a waste to just throw it all out. And I know that there's people who they bring them to the scrapyard or whatever, but I always felt that at some point I bought this and there's value in it, because the reason why some things are expensive, because there's expensive materials in it. And so I started researching into microscrapping. And so what I found, I'm going to share a little bit of my research with you guys. So one of the things that I found is I seem to have some technical difficulties. So meanwhile, while my presentation software is trying to figure out what it can do, I can still show you this. So let me put that one on like that. So what these are things that you can scrap out of your computer. So I got a whole bunch of these. So I don't know if you can see that. We need a light up there. Anyway, I do have these, and what these are called crystalline oscillators. So basically, what's in here is there's silver in here, and so that's good. To just take out the parts that contain silver, and then what else I have? I'm gonna have to quit the presentation software, I think, you guys. So I have these. I have these tactical switches. They're kind of like, you can press them. These tactical switches, and there's silver in here too, because these are like tiny little. Hey, make that blink. Yeah, there you go. So these are tiny little pieces of silver that are in here. Very, very cool. A good thing to collect as well. Now, these are the MLCC kind of chips, and there's a bunch of them, and these are probably the most valuable thing that are in your motherboard per volume, because these contain palladium, and palladium is a very rare metal. It's usually gathered in either Russia or South Africa. There's not a whole lot of them, and there's you know, it's highly valued. So yeah, wouldn't want that to go you know, go to like a what do you call it, like a landfill, or you know, some place where they incinerate everything, you know. So I just, you know, it's my e-waste, so I want to take care of it. So by doing this, I kind of have like an idea of, you know, what's going to happen with it. It's a small collection. I cannot gather all the I cannot keep all the circuits, the motherboards, you know. It's impossible to just gather all of this, but I can scrap them. So what else I got? I got these pieces of copper, you know. So I just a whole bunch of these. These are called transformers, inductors. All of those out of there, you know. It's all copper. It's all good. It's all valuable. Although, of course, it needs to be at some point. You really need to have a lot of it before it actually becomes valuable. But yeah, doing this is not as dumb as it seems, because you know, you think like, oh, you know, it's a lot of work. Sure, but you know, if you have the time, you just scrape it off a little bit, just get rid of your waste, and you know, every little bit, and then you just gather little, you know, bigger and bigger volumes of small things that are valuable in bulk. And at some point you will have something that is sellable to another person, or maybe you can even refine it and get something out of it yourself. Now, we talked about silver. There's a bunch of silver in there already. There's gold as well in these kind of things. So these kind of things have this golden bit over there. That means there's gold inside, and this one also has copper inside. You can just scrape this off with like an air hammer. So I've seen people having like a small air hammer, like do 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 do, and then you know, they scrape everything out. They collect the chips, and then yeah, the chips, they that's a whole different thing what to do with that then. So I've also seen videos on YouTube, and I would show them to you right now if I could. Let's see. No, presentation software is not helping. So I'm sorry. From this moment on, it's just me showing you things, guys. And that's not video, just stuff that I have laying around. So yeah, these chips, you can basically, you know, just like, or even with a chisel or something like that, just take them off and just gather them all. These are called IC chips, and there's some other chips on there as well, and they do contain a lot of gold. That's just what's inside. And it's not a lot of gold, just a little bit of gold. But if you gather them in bulk, you know, you get a lot. I've seen people on YouTube smelting them, and I would have shown you this, but there's some technical issues, but I can tell you the problems that it has, because when you do this in a small scale, let's say you do it in your own backyard, and you start smelting the chips. So let's say, for instance, you have these ram sticks, you know, they call these gold fingers. Nice. Gold finger. These chips here on the top, these also contain gold. So what I've seen people do is put these on a plate, on a hot plate, and then they burn off basically the solder, and they just scrape them off and just separate the chips from these things. And then they burn them. They burn the chips, and after that they put them in hydrochloric acid and some other treats, and then in the end, finally they can forge like this little piece of gold out of it. That's what people do on a small scale. But there's a lot of ecological problems with this. So let me take you through them just very quickly. So let's say you take these chips off and you burn them. Well, things that can be released certainly is lead, because the solder that can contain your lead, so there's a significant health risk there. There's cadmium, which is highly toxic, which get released in the atmosphere if you burn them off. There's mercury, which is extremely harmful. There's some dioxins and furans, which are carcinogenics. They cause reproductive and immune issues in animals and humans. There's BFR, which stands for brominated flame retardants, which are also toxic if you burn them, because they're not supposed to be burned. There's flame retardants. There's polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are also carcinogenic. And they also release sulfur, and they release nitrogen. So, very, very problematic if you do that just in your own backyard. Then what you need is to get this gold off and to get the gold out of your burning waste. You need some hydrochloric acids, which are problematic for aquatic soils and aquatic system soils, and they contain or they cause acid rain if they released into the atmosphere. There's nitric acid, which you have to use, also problem for aquatic systems, for the soil. They can produce smog, which can be a problem for the respiratory system. So if you ever have to handle that, you need to wear one of those masks. They use urea, which lowers the air quality. So yeah, those masks are very, very needed. Sodium metabisulfate, it dissolves oxygen if it comes into contact with water. It also causes acid rain if it goes into the atmosphere. If it goes into the atmosphere, at some point it will come down into the water. There's sulfuric acid, which is extremely toxic. Sodium bicarbonate, which is the least harmful of all of this. So if you think about doing this yourself, just be aware that what you're doing is very harmful for the environment and is very, you shouldn't do it like that. And we shouldn't have to do it like that. I've been in contact with a whole bunch of people over the last couple of months, a whole different kind of companies, because I actually wanted to go there and I wanted to film there. So I sent out a whole bunch of emails to people who do like what they called urban mining. So they mine this kind of stuff, and I wanted to know. I wanted to see like, okay, how are you guys actually doing this on a large scale? And actually, none of them really were interested in me coming by. I said like, well, I have this channel and I just want to see, want to bring some stuff in and maybe, let's see how we can retrieve the gold from it. And so you guys get an actual understanding of, well, how much am I actually sitting on if I'm sitting on e-waste? Unfortunately, no cigar. It seems to be that the microcosmic and the macrocosmic ways of getting this stuff out, there seems to be a crevice in between, and there's no bridge in between yet. The only bridge that you can have at this point is if you're gathering this in bulk, and that gave me a little bit of an understanding of, okay, how would I gather it in bulk? Because you always get the labor for getting this kind of stuff out. And also there's, you know, it doesn't make sense if you do this on a small scale all day. It doesn't make sense for the hours that you put in. You don't get as much of a return. However, I was just thinking, like, let's just say, I'm going to see if I can put this out there. Here we go. So let's just say, as a community, we have a system, and so a system of bartering. Well, at some point, we want to have that bartering system. We want to stack it up, because, you know, we cannot just pay 2 chickens every time for amount of apples or something like that. You know, it's not handy to do that. And let's just say I have these sticks of RAM, just laying them around, and so you know, me alone gathering these sticks of RAM, that's not very efficient. You know, I have to go everywhere, I have to get these, and I have to collect them, and over years and years, and all this effort, and meanwhile it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there. It's just sitting somewhere where I stored them. However, the gold that is in here, it's intrinsic. It will always have that amount of gold in it, even though I cannot actually reach it. It has an intrinsic value, because I can always sell these. I can always sell them on, like, people want to buy them, you know. So what if I just use these as a currency, you know, just have these be like, you know, 30 cents or something, maybe something like this, you know, it contains gold, and has a little bit of brass on the back, you know, maybe €5 or $5 or maybe 2.5, I don't know. It's just something that is, you know, at least covers the amount of gold that's in there. Now, I know you don't have the full stack because someone needs to extract it, actually. But if you think about it, the money that we use today, to think about what you're paying with, is mostly is paper. It's you know, there's all kinds of things in there. Just so you cannot manufacture things yourself. You cannot manufacture your paper. Well, good luck trying to manufacture something like this. So yeah, that's it's hard to counterfeit a RAM stack, or maybe you think about the coins that you have. You know, they're all lower quality materials. That the amount of material that is in your coin is not worth the amount of the economic value that's in there. So yeah, so we're already very much disconnected from the actual value that is in our money system. So it makes sense to actually use this. I've written this down. So for a RAM stick, there's little to no domestic value. People just throw this away. This is trash. They have no idea. But there's some intrinsic value. And that's the opposite of our money, basically, because our money has no intrinsic value, but there's a lot of domestic value. So you can buy a lot of things with it. And that's basically, if you would be like an autonomous community, living out there, trading with each other, bartering, that's what you would want. You would want something that you know that people are not just going to throw away, that if you have it, it's actually worth something. But it's not good for counterfeiting. Is not, you know, what they would do in the past with golden coins. You know, they would kind of scrape things off. You know, try to get the gold off. Once you get the gold out of this, it's like, hey, what the fuck did you do this with this? You made it less valuable. You know, it's very easily recognizable if someone has tampered with it. So to me, I just had this vision of like, that's a good way to actually to come up with a money system. Now, you might think, because you would have something like this. So not one person doing this, but let's say You have a community of people doing this, and at some point, if you have a community of people trading with these, and you kind of get this system where people come up with, they gather these RAM sticks, and they, it's like, I put some effort in, I mined some gold, I urban mined some gold, and so I took a computer apart, and now I can buy some apples, so that's good. And at some point, like let's say you would open up your economy, your RAM stick economy, you would open it up for people from the outside, and that would mean that you would have more RAM sticks getting in. So you could sell your apples or your chicken or whatever. You could sell them to people from the outside, because your community is not a closed system. You want it to be interacting with the outside system, although you want them to bring in something that is intrinsically gold and that also works within your own community system. So a RAM stick is easily for a person outside of your community to gather, and it's very easy for them, because for them it's waste, and within your community they can buy something valuable for you. And so that means that over time the amount of CPUs and RAM sticks that you have, they stack up. And so what you can do as a community, you can just, at some point where you have a lot of these things, you can just say like, hey, this is the point where we really have a lot of this. And this is the point where, if we bring in a ton, like let's say like in like 1,000 kilos, we bring in 1,000 kilos of, CPUs or RAM, we bring that in, and then we extract the value out. Now we let it do by a professional company who can actually who work with these kind of volumes, and then you extract. You might lose like a third of the profits, maybe of profits, the gain, because somebody needs to do it. There's materials in need and all of it, but you would actually be able to extract the gold from it, and if you do it right, then you would get the gold in return for your community. And maybe it would even be possible. Now I'm very hesitant about this, because I just talked to you guys about the ecological hazards that are out there. But let's say at some point you would have enough income that you could get your own urban mining setup. So have it been done in an environmentally friendly way, because it's always better to recycle these things than just let them go to landfill. So if we can get people out there and to think about, okay, well, how can I gather, how can I recycle my e-waste in a better way to make them think about that. It's always better than just people throwing it away or throwing the value away and not having any clue about what to do with it. So with that said, I think that's a reasonable explanation of how I think things could work. I think it might be an option for people to have an economy like this, and to just stack these up and at some point, this financial system that we have, and I know that there's people who's been saying it for years, the financial system's gonna collapse, and at some point, it's not gonna be viable anymore to work with fiat currency in the way that they're detracting value out of this as well. With the whole pandemic recently, the European Union, for instance, they've taken on a way to get a lot of credit as a European Union. That means a lot more debt. If you're an American, if you live in the United States, you have the dollar. The dollar is very important on a global scale as well. well, I mean, either if you would have voted Trump or Harris, they both are people who had big spending in mind. They weren't very conservative on the financial aspect, which would raise the amount of debt of the United States even more. There's talk from the BRICS lands that they're not gonna support the petrodollar anymore. So it makes sense to go back to a gold standard, and it makes sense to have it actually be backed by gold, even though it's imperfect, even though it's covered in plastics that are very problematic to get it out. The intrinsic worth will still be there, and if the more that our economy goes down, the more that these things go up in price. So, with that being said, I hope this was valuable for you in some way. I hope you want to share this episode with your friends, with your families, with people who you think might be interested in these kind of concepts. I hope you're subscribed, you give us a thumbs up, you want to comment down below so we can get in contact, get you up in the show notes. I'm sorry for the problematic things with the presentation. It sometimes happens. Technical difficulties are around us. And with that said, I hope you guys are supporting the show by going to Druid Secret and visit our sponsor and support with the code Paradigm Shift. With that said, this was it for this week. See you next week. Bye-bye.